Hey, what's going on, everyone? You are now listening to Resilience in Action with Erin Brown. Yeah. All right. Hello, everyone. We are having another episode of Resilience in Action with Erin Brown. And today's guest is Jennifer Hubbs. Jennifer is a virtual peer support specialist with a focus in feelings. And I'm not going to butcher it, so I'm going to let Jennifer explain what that actually is.
Yeah, so I took that mostly from the what my kind of core thing is right now is this breakfast and feelings check-in, which was that stream overlay that I showed you. And so I took my recently when I started this, learned peer support skills. So I'm a certified peer support specialist. And what that is someone with lived mental health experience. And they just kind of use what they've learned to support others in their journey, sometimes similar, just that lived experience aspect. Now, a specialist or someone who's certified is someone who went through a little bit of extra training, 40 hours of extra training to learn how to listen to understand, like so much so that I made a freaking bookmark that says, I will listen. And we do listen with care, connect and reflect, ask and clarify, respond with support, and examine understanding. I made this inspired by the training, because I was like, why don't we know how to listen more? you know, I felt like I was just learning life skills, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
But we learned how to intentionally support others, learned how to share our story in recovery nuggets, so that it's not like you are taking over the story or taking over the conversation because you're supporting someone else. And then also helps, we've kind of learned how to help support navigating systems, whether it's insurance or trying to find different resources or providers and things like that. And then just kind of generally supporting. Now, a lot of what I knew came, so I lost my, I got this peer support. Do you edit this? I'm trying to figure out how far back to go, or if I just explain the title part.
So do whatever you feel. Do whatever. Literally, I want you to be authentic as possible. Explain what you feel.
Okay. All right. So this new peer support training is coming from, the pandemic started in 2020. I found this peer support job a week before the pandemic started, called peer support specialist. And it was a job, the job description said, use your lived experience to support others. And I'm like, gotcha. Sure. And I killed the interview and I was so excited. It was so amazing and it was really great. And then the pandemic hit and we had to start doing everything online. And some more background context. I I graduated college with my bachelor's, child, adult, and family services, with a minor in event management. And then I had a job for 1 year full time. And then I had to quit that. And that was I was in my psychiatrist's office realizing that there's no accommodation that can be made to this job that will make it not burn me out the way it has. So that was the first and only job I ever got to quit. I then turned around and got fired from a job I had for 3 years for a one-off policy violation, never had been written up. I then lost a job that I had had for a year, which was a mobile crisis responder policy violation, never been written up, one off. And then I was coming off of that, found this peer support job, like, oh my gosh, there's no way I can screw up using my lived experience to support another person, right? Wrong.
Say more. What happened?
So a pandemic and social justice, and I'm in Iowa. And 90-day review comes around, and instead of going through my 90-day review that I tried really hard to be honest about, gave myself some C's, even some D's, and she handed me a picture of a social media post and was like, the board was really appalled. So this is a social media violation, so this is immediate termination. Didn't even like go through my 90-day review with me. Sent
Wow.
me out the door saying she hopes I get help. I went back the next day this is a mental health place that helps people with mental. You're hiring someone with live like. I come back the next day because I want that 90-day review. I saw she filled it out, but she didn't go through it with me. Every single box on that 90-day review that she checked was checked as unacceptable. She said I was not modeling recovery. I was not welcoming. I did not know the mission of, and I'll say it, NAMI, National Alliance on Mental Illness, like NAMI, no nationwide. Granted, it was our local chapter.
Yeah.
But NAMI is a very like core resource for people with mental illness in this country. She kind of sent me out like the other jobs that I had been fired from, like that first job that was a policy violation. I was crying and they were like, no, Jen, you're not a bad person. In fact, you're a good person. You just can't do that here. A little context. It was an NCAA thing. So there was really no thing around it. I just happened to do something that is good, but NCAA is not good. So there went that one. So like, I just continue to not fit in. Right.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful because in this peer support job, we got trained by a separate organization for the peer support certification, and the people that attended were from all different like organizations and stuff. And so I wasn't tied to NAMI with that. I got fired before I even got to take the test for that. And I talked to my trainers and they're like, it's fine. It's fine. Well, not really, like they were apologetic, but they were like, what tends to happen is when these organizations hire peer supports, they tend to put other responsibilities on them rather than just being there and existing and supporting. So that would include things like some of the things on my 90-day review were like not getting these posted on time, because mind you, pandemic means we closed. We had to start posting videos every day, posting posts every day, hosting Zoom sessions, sending them written letters every couple of weeks, like multiple of that. Like, and so this job description just essentially changes in a matter of a week.
Yeah.
And all of this to say, in my peer support session, they introduced us to feeling words. They said, we're going to check in and check out of these training sessions with how you're feeling. And we're like, huh? Oh, we're good. And then they sent us this PDF of feeling words. One page was words for when your needs are met and words for when your needs are not met. And I was kind of, I was like, oh man, this is a lot. In the first few days, I kind of picked words like uncomfortable. Like I was trying to be honest. So like uncomfortable, interested, but like it was kind of weird. It was new. And after a few days, I started to be like, I'm uncomfortable, but I'm feeling hopeful. And that's when it started to click to me that I'm like, dear God, not only am I labeling my emotions, but I'm starting to notice that I can do this. I am naming this uncomfortable emotion or this uncomfortable feeling. But because I'm like looking at these words and taking some actual like intentional awareness, I'm also able to now see that there's this smaller voice or this smaller light that like, I'm also hopeful. And ever since then, it's like I broke into something that has been able to like, not every time, but like hold my larger emotions, I guess.
Okay.
Like I realized that I just essentially, I guess, don't feel as hopeless as I ever did.
Okay. Why were you feeling uncomfortable? Like what was
uncomfortable because it was a new training. I was still employed at this time. And so I was still trying to get things done with that stuff, like making the posts and the videos, and uncomfortable because new people, hoping that I do it right. Just uncomfortable because I didn't want to say good. Like maybe uncomfortable because I didn't know really how I was feeling.
Okay.
But I like to note that part because I know that when I showed you my mood meter background, when people see all these words, it's like, oh, I didn't even think about how much more like specific, I guess, you can get when labeling these emotions.
Yes. Yes.
And so I use that to explain because I too was like, wow, this is a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But as I kind of practice it, and so where I get this whole virtual peer support specialist is after I got fired from this last job. Oh my Atlanta, I like lost myself.
Okay. Say
But
more. Like when you say you lost yourself, say
well,
more.
I didn't
Where
lose
did you
myself. I
go?
think I lost the rest of the gas that was there. However, since I had identified that I was kind of still feeling hopeful, it's interesting because even though I was like fired from 3 jobs, I graduated cum laude.
Wow.
Am I incompetent? Am I hard to get along with? Like, never been written up?
Yeah, they just the
What
3
did I
jobs that just pulled the trigger off of.
never for impact, always for policy?
And policy, social media policy. Like, are
Well,
you
the
kidding
last
me?
one was social media specifically. The middle one was me being my neurodivergent self and being open. One day I said, I don't feel like myself, or I feel off, or something along those lines. And then the next day, I was with a coworker. And the next day, essentially, I got pulled in by like HR and my boss. And they were like, so your coworker reported, or we heard that you were feeling unsafe. And that is an immediate termination policy violation, because if you're unsafe, you can't be unsafe around the clients. And I'm just sitting here like, do you understand that if I felt unsafe, I wouldn't even drive my car because I can't afford to fix myself, let alone get myself into anything else? And how many times have I called in or rescheduled because I'm not having a good day? Because I did have a bad track record of that. So you really think I'm going to work unsafe? I wouldn't have made it this far had I not made my case to the unemployment person. Because you get fired, you don't get unemployment.
Yeah,
but I made
yeah.
so I got it for this one.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So that has been what's carrying me. But I'm like down, and I'm like, well, I guess I got to do it myself.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, my partner who does music, he was watching someone like this famous music producer essentially spend 8 hours a day on Twitch making beats and talking about it. And on Mondays, he would do these Motivation Monday things. And that's when my fingers get itchy, because it's like, haha, I can contribute to this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started to see kind of the ability to community build. I had actually started, there were a couple times where I was like, oh, I read this really good book and blah, 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 this. And so I would like direct message with a couple of them. And then there was one day that they talked about breakfast, and everyone's like, oh yeah, I forget it, or I ignore it, or I get distracted, or every reason. And I messaged a couple of the people I had met in there, and I was like, would it be weird if like I went live sometime and the purpose was for us to stop? Now that I'm in this stream, I'm gonna go get breakfast. And they were like, no, I don't think that'd be weird. That'd be kind of cool. So I kid you not, I went live the next morning with those 2 white blank PDFs of words, my camera, and a picture of my cat, and called it Breakfast and Feelings Check-In.
Okay.
And I wanted to take my peer support skills that I had learned and just try to give it online.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're in the middle of a pandemic now. Like there's no finding physical space to try to hold this, even if I wanted to.
Absolutely.
So, and that was one of the most life-changing things in the world, because I kid you not, within like 4 months, I was feeling so genuinely happy that I was concerned. I was like, why am I this happy? Am I potentially like manic right now? Like I've never, ever felt this good before.
Mm-hmm.
But that was the lockdown settling in, me getting my energy back from not masking my entire life, which I learned about during the pandemic. Mm-hmm. I got diagnosed with ADHD when I was 22, so my senior year of college. Like I made it through college without accommodations. And I didn't even quite I was like, okay, ADHD, at least something to blame stuff on. But it wasn't until the pandemic that it was like I started getting my energy back and started like finding myself and enjoying. And I slept in constantly, always. But when I started this breakfast and feelings thing, I don't know, it just like flipped a switch in me. And all of a sudden, I've never missed an 8 a.m. weekday morning stream since I started awesome. 2 years ago next month.
2 years. So you You started your Twitch channel 2 years ago, Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. and had never missed a day. That is.
There were a couple of times where I had to take a break, but it was like in tears break, don't want to miss it kind of thing. And then one time I did get suspended for 48 hours, which is a DMCA strike is what they call it, because you used I played an Iowa State football game because I thought I was a small enough streamer that they wouldn't notice me, and they did. so I did get banned, but no, yes, aside from a week trip last November and like one other 3-day time, I've never taken more than like 5 days off at once.
And you've been able to do that because of the way you're able to just be authentically yourself and pour into your listeners and your viewers and your streamers and
myself, really.
And ultimately, like, I think yourself, that is the main,
like, days when I don't stream, people are like, oh, you're tired, you don't have to stream, it's okay. And I'm like, no, you don't get it. This fills my cup.
Yeah.
I would rather not do other things than, not stream. So it really changed my life, which is hilarious, since I feel like the first time I started like really making friends with people, I was really addicted to the internet when I was, well, I guess technically always. I came through the generation that I am. I feel like maybe 2 years before me and 2 years after me were like this 5-year group that came up through the internet to where, yes, the online bullying was bad, but we didn't have the aesthetic stigmas and stuff on us. So it was like such new internet use that I benefited more than but basically every other teenager growing up with the internet now did before, because I had a key to the internet, and now I could make friends with people that I didn't know because everyone in my small town didn't like me anymore. Like, so I was weird, I was annoying, or I was clingy, or I smelled, or whatever. I'm learning that, yeah, there were some bullies, but I may not have been the weirdest person out there, but because but I think, yes, I was weird. I was neurodivergent. And so even if I was understood sometimes, like, I just always felt misunderstood. And I just never felt like I fit in. And that made me a teacher's pet. That's what made me go so hard for my grades and stuff. Like, I don't want to say I'm not that smart, because I think we're all smart in a lot of ways, but like, there's a lot of things that like people will bring up in stream that it's like, I feel like I learned that at some point, but it's not there.
Hey, y'all. Listen, it is time for some action. If you are enjoying the content that you've been listening to, I need you to rate and review. That's it. That's all. Make sure you go to wherever you're listening to this podcast and rate and review it for us. We appreciate you so much. Let's get back to some resilience. So my question, right? And this is a crazy question. Do you remember dial-up?
No. Well, no. No. I'd have to ask my mom, because I'm almost positive we did have dial-up. But again, I think I'm in this like 5-year group where you could have been just a little bit older than me and you do remember it. But I don't think I had a want or an interest to try to get on when dial-up was there.
Gotcha. Yeah, that was...
Because I wasn't AOL, I was MSN.
Oh, okay. You wait.
This conversation.
I have never in my life, in my years of experience in this world, I have never heard anyone define like an era of the internet with AOL or MSN like that, but it makes so much sense because I'm definitely
I hear a lot of people talking about the AOL days, and they're usually tied with dial-up, but I'm sitting over here like, I didn't have AOL and I don't really remember dial-up. I really don't hear people talk about MSN as often, and I think some of the people around my age try to lie and say they use AOL to seem like they fit in. I really don't hear people talk about
like
MSN calls.
you can't say you use AOL if you don't remember getting the discs in the mail. We got internet discs in the mail.
Internet discs. Yep.
Exactly. Yes. Long time ago.
No, that's funny though. Because I like go ahead. Yeah. So, okay, let me pull it all back together. Virtual peer support specialist with a focus on feelings, because I think that when you think about peer support groups, it's usually everyone kind of has their voice. Well, in my stream, everyone does have their voice, but they're not speaking it. They're typing it. And so everyone in the chat can still read it. Everyone in the chat, I read everyone's chats unless it's like super, super questionable. But like, there is still a difference compared to another group, but there's benefit, because how many of the people that type in my chat would sit physically in a group and share that verbally? And then I say focus on feelings, because I think that primarily I don't want to say that I'm because like, mind you, I never even got to put my freaking training to action in person
because of the pandemic
and the firing. So technically, like, I'm coming without, I don't technically have like experience,
work experience, as they would say. Gotcha. Okay. But your lived experience gives you that experience. I thought that was
and I'm pretty sure that it's essentially my way of talking about my own self and my own lived experience is what draws people in the most. I can't wait until I find the words to be able to describe it, because I know that there's no, like, other people would have to describe, like, it's just very, it's just very magical, unexpected, but feels really great. So you're not even going to think about how it's weird anymore.
Gotcha.
And then I focus on feelings, because I don't want to say that I know how to solve everyone's dilemmas. In fact, I rely a lot and have great community members who will respond, and I'll just read their response out loud.
Gotcha. So what are some of the topics you talk about on your stream?
Well, so thank you for asking that. But also, I wish that it wasn't a thing, because there's people who will choose a daily topic or a daily question, or like a weekly topic or a weekly question. And that's something I've always strayed away from, only because I'm the kind of person who won't use my new stickers because I don't want to run out of them. So anything. I don't want to use this because I'm gonna run out. I don't wear my clothes a lot because I don't want them to wear out. Like, it's just weird, my own brain. I never wanted to be something where it's like I keep picking topics because I didn't want to run out.
Gotcha. Okay, so it's just a free for all. Like, you just talk about whatever anybody is thinking.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. It just really depends. Yesterday, someone came in. I'm also like the biggest my nickname was the Plug when I was a student athlete mentor. Like, that was the first time I got called the Plug, which is hilarious because I didn't even understand what they meant. But it's like I had a pencil, or I was quicker at Googling something than they were, or this, that, and the other thing. And then when it came to Twitch or my stream, it was like, oh, I have a book for that. I have a this 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 for that. Like, everything highlighted. And I even so much that like I started painting watercolors because they had us send these cards to the peers for our peer center for the real job thing. And I was like, oh, I like watercolor. I'm going to make all these positive affirmation cards. So then again, when people would come in and say something, I'm like, I have a card for this. And I would like whip it up and show it to them. Now I've like expanded just everything that I have. And I have like things like these Therapet cards, which I'll just show you one, for example, just has like a thing on it and says like, it's a drawing, and this one says, I'm a work in progress, and that's okay. But there's 64 of them, and essentially it's like an emotional support animal type of idea, and I'll shuffle them, and it's almost like I treat them like tarot. I'm almost moving energy, I think, with them, honestly, and I don't know those things, but that's what others say.
Okay. That makes sense.
So I just kind of like support and go with it. Yesterday's, can you not, please? Hello?
Hi, Monster's butt.
You need something? You need something.
Yes, love and affection.
So self-talk and your inner voice, everything I show you is backwards. Is it backwards?
Nope.
Okay, someone said it wasn't last time, so I was like, maybe it's not. Anyway, so self-talk and your inner voice. I don't know if you're on like social media a lot, and Self-Love Rainbow used to be Blessing Manifesting. She makes just a lot of like colorful posts, but she has like tons and tons and tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of workbook things. And yesterday, someone was talking about how, you know, they felt like a failure and all these different things. And I'm like, this feels like a perfect opportunity to bring out this workbook and kind of walk through it and read through it with them, because then it talked about like the different aspects of the inner critic and what is the source of that, and who said that made you start thinking these things. And it's just, so it's kind of just like resource and discussion and existing. Like, I will say we also have a fart dictionary because mental health is heavy and we need to have comedic relief.
Understood.
And I like to say that crying is like farting. You have to let it out. If you don't fart, your tummy hurts. And if you don't cry, your heart hurts.
I like that. I love that. That's like beans good for your heart. That's very like comedic relief is necessary, especially when you're talking about some pretty heavy topics, which I would think you talk about on your Twitch, and you know, someone brings it up. So it was good to be able to have those conversations, have those maybe sometimes uncomfortable conversations, and you're able just to like throw a fart joke or like reference a fart, and everyone busts out laughing, like literally, because who doesn't laugh at farts?
And even if you're, you know, even if you're the one person that ends up being annoyed, I think it's a good disruption in the energy in general. So even if you're like, meh, there's a shift in the energy that you're going to be a part of anyway.
Absolutely. So, absolutely.
And then another thing, honestly, is Munster's really kind of the star. So I have, I think, like 20 different emotes. So if you like subscribe or you throw bits or all these different things to earn emotes, Munster is, I think, maybe 15 of the 20 of them. Wow. Whether a different Munster face, or there's one where he's like bopping up and down. If you've ever seen Cat Jam, it's a Munster version of Cat Jam. Like, I have Munster merch.
I've seen some of your posts
on my Instagram.
Like, you have like a t-shirt. He's got like a do-rag or like a scarf or something.
I will say I didn't make that. Yes, it's a do-rag. Yes, it's a do-rag. My partner at the time made that.
I was cracking
up. It was mental health money and everyone went for it. And
it's awesome that you're able to, what you're doing is you're literally taking your lived experience
and holding space
and holding space for others to do the same. Like how awesome
and asking you how you are and referencing the feeling words, asking you, like, if I know you well enough, I'm going to prompt you to try to give me something other than good if you say good the first time.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, that's how so after my training, before I started streaming, I would like go to my partner and I'd ask him how he was, and then he would say, and I'm like, no. And I would start handing like my partner and my friends, and I'd be like, no, look at these words. How are you actually? And now it's like, I can't answer people in the store or randomly without stopping and thinking and giving them a word. And they're usually like, good. Like they'll go a little further or they'll just take it in stride. A lot of people are like, well, what if people don't want to know how I am? I don't care if they don't want to know how you are. They asked you.
I was about to say, they asked you. And I think that's people something that we don't do. We don't do a lot. Use a different greeting. Say something else. Say hi. Don't ask me how I am, because when I tell you, I don't know if you're going to be prepared for what's
coming. And then other people are afraid of rejection, and that's valid too. But again, you know, we can't control others' actions, and that might make one say, well, then maybe I won't because I can't control their action. But it's like, either they're not going to ask you again how you are because of how you respond, which, you know, might be hurtful, but also might be, well, they didn't care how I felt anyway.
And it's okay, because their opinions really don't matter.
There is no feeling or emotion that is negative. There are unpleasant and uncomfortable feelings, but there aren't negative feelings, because is part of being human negative? Our feelings are part of being human, part of the human experience, and we feel a range of emotions at any one time, every single thing. Like the air temperature change in a matter of minutes can make a difference.
Yes.
You know.
Yes.
So that's why I say focus on feelings, because I feel like ultimately nobody around me has been as interested in it as I am, and it seems like whenever I come across, like, whether it's like an argument or a debate or how do we get better or how do we get here or how do we, and I'm like, well, you know how I found my awareness? Literally through checking in with feeling words. Like, I just keep coming back, and it's like, I don't even want it to be like I'm promoting myself. So I feel weird, but it's like, it seems like everything, it's like, oh, meditate on it or mindfulness. And it's like, how do you get started with those things? But when it comes to looking at a list of feeling words and stopping and taking a moment to be like, oh, how am I actually feeling? And maybe the first few times you're not as accurate, but I don't want to say I can guarantee you, but I don't know how else I gained the awareness that I have now, to where I can see something that makes me clench my fist when I'm on Twitter, and I choose not to respond to it because now I'm noticing how I'm feeling.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest things. Last week my episode was 3 things you can do to help strengthen your resilience, and one of them was self-awareness aspect is like, oh, figure out when you're getting triggered, what is triggering you, figure out why it's triggering you. Now you know how to navigate that. Now you know how to move forward. But if you're constantly trying to avoid it and you're not taking it seriously, you're going to keep running into the same situations, the same issues, the same problems.
Because you're not noticing it.
You're not noticing it, and you're not learning the lesson that you're supposed to be learning in that moment, in that situation, because that's going to help you when you get to the next level.
And that's where people get hindsight instead of the word in one of these books I love, hindsight. Not why did I do that, but what was there for me to learn.
What was there for me to learn?
Okay, you paused a little bit, and I was like, oh no, did we lose?
No, we're good. You paused for a few seconds. You said hindsight and not hindsight?
Yes.
I like that. And
so the people, like, going off of what you were saying it's like people continue to not learn, so they're not going to get it. And I feel like those people are the ones that are going to be like, why do I keep doing this?
Yep. Why can't I
stop doing this?
Why is my life still the same? Why am I still repeating the same cycles? Why am I still doing the same dumb stuff?
Instead of what is there for me to learn? Because if you can identify those things, that's where you know, okay, let me see what I can do next to, do the things.
Make it a little easier. Awesome. Okay, Jennifer, how can we support you? How can we follow you? Where are you on social media?
Yeah, so I'm on Twitch, and you call me Jennifer, which is fantastic. Sorry, that sounds weird. Yeah. A lot of people don't realize that my Twitch username or my Twitter handle, Jennifer, they read fur and they see fur. They don't often get Jennifer out of that.
Really? I have it written down, like, not gonna lie. I don't know if you can see it. Get a little closer.
Yeah. But it's just funny because there's a lot of people who are like, wait a second, Jennifer is Jennifer? Why did I never put that together? And so I'm bringing it up just to say that, like, it really didn't tie in very much at all. But I'm Jennifer on basically like all of the platforms, whether it's Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, I think like Pinterest, TikTok. Jennifer is JENNYFURHH. Don't ask me why the H's are there. I think the ones with the Jennifer without H's was taken, and I put one H and it looked weird, so I put 2.
So we have a dog. His name is Beans. He is the color of coffee beans, like espresso beans.
Munster is the color of Munster.
His name is Beans, and it's spelled BEEANS because I am special and he is special. So if people spell his name wrong, I'm really, really quick to correct them.
Valid.
So, okay. So we can find you on Twitch, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, you said, at Jennifer.
Yes. Or so like my kind of community, or where I'm posting, like I post things more than on my Instagram, on Art Hub Co. And Art Hub, ARTHUBB, two B's, because my last name is Hubs.
Mm-hmm.
And once I was like, oh, I'm like a hub of things. It's an art. It like, I want to be a center. I want to be a facilitator. I want to host. I want to bring the people together because I love connections.
You're the plug.
That too. Or, well, yes, I mean, essentially. And so Art Hub, it was just so happened. I was like, haha, Hubs.
Nice.
And so that's where the double B comes from. So Art Hub Co. And that's Instagram and also Pinterest. I'm trying to post more of the mental health things on Pinterest. That might be it for those two. And then thearthub.com is my website, which is still under construction. I mean, everything's there, but it's not the best.
Hey, at least it's there. So,
but you can download your own mood meter.
Nice. You can do that at your at your website.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. I think
there's a light mode and a dark mode.
That's awesome because that's going to let a lot of people kind of, and I'm big on trying to articulate your feelings and being able to understand them to a point where you explain them to yourself and then you can explain them to other people. That is going to help a lot of folks.
So much. Because if you know how you're feeling, you have more of a chance to communicate that to someone else so that they now have that knowledge and know how to, because sometimes funny jokes aren't that funny to some people depending on how they're feeling. And you can get around that if we learn better communication skills.
Absolutely. Okay. So I have one other question for you. What is your definition of resilience?
I was not prepared for this because resilience, at first when I heard the word, I was like, yes, resilience is amazing. This is like the strength to get through the thing. But then as things kept happening and I kept learning about all of the things that, well, resilience is really just something that, you know, I don't want to say we all have. Maybe we do, maybe we don't. I'm not sure on that one. But like in the sense that, yeah, we're resilient because we have to be.
Mm-hmm.
I'm tired of being resilient.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I'm saying it's like, that's unexpected and I wasn't prepared because I know and I understand and I appreciate, you know, the resilience, but then this newer discourse of I'm tired of being resilient. Why do we always have to be the resilient ones? Why can't the outer things, the larger, grander, like macro scale, societal, country, like law, just different things, why can't those start changing? Why do we have to keep being the resilient ones?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So you're thinking of resilience on a huge scale. How would you define resilience in your life?
In my life.
Mm-hmm. It's a doozy.
I don't want to cheat, but I kind of want to ask you to give me the definition so that I can better get the words that I need because nothing's coming up.
So resilience is basically the ability to bounce back from difficult and tough situations. So your ability to continue to want to do this work after getting fired those 3 times. Why do you want to continue to do this work?
For what I have an answer, but I think it's because I'm like, this isn't grammatically or contextually correct, but just feelings.
Just say it. Yeah, absolutely.
Feelings, helping people continue to learn about feelings. And because it's just going to continue to help me learn about my feelings and just continuing to like learn and grow, because I know that whatever learning and forward movement I do, it is absolutely going to benefit the people around me. And I want to help the people around me. And I know that I'm not very great at helping them if I'm not 100%.
Absolutely. And that's right there would be my definition of resilience and action, as in the fact that, yes, you faced those situations where stuff happened, right? At your jobs, in your life, but you're continuing to want to, hold on one second. Rude. You're
Showing
continuing.
up. Showing up. I wanna
Exactly.
keep
You
showing up.
continue. You continue to show up and show up authentically as the self that you are today. Perfect.
I know I can keep showing up.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Jennifer, this has been fantastic. I am absolutely so excited for this episode, and I'm so glad you decided to spend some time with us today.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Oops. 1 second. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Resilience in Action with Erin Brown. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to rate, review, and subscribe. And I want you to remember one thing: resilience in action will always lead to a greater human experience.